Alrighty, hi guys. So today I'm going to score and review the very first book in the book project that I am doing. So the first book was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the first book in a trilogy. So far, I don't know if she's planning on releasing any more books in this universe, but as of right now, this is the first book in a trilogy. I am going to be completely rating it as a standalone book, as I'm going to do with the second and the third books as well. This is definitely a fantasy genre. Now, I've seen this in some middle school classrooms, so I believe it is YA. I will say there are definitely some parts that get a little bit more racy. They don't actually go into detail about anything, so it really just depends on your comfort level. If that's something you might be uncomfortable with, I recommend reading the book before giving it to your child, just to make sure. It doesn't outright explicitly say anything. There are just certain things that are implied that certain kids might understand a little bit more than others. So just be cautious of that. Otherwise, I thought everything in it was perfectly appropriate, other than like those 2 or 3 scenes. It had a lot of adventure. It was a true fantasy book. It's in another universe. It's not set on Earth. It is beautiful. The world building is phenomenal. She does a great job of creating a believable universe, not just this fantastical, magical place, but a place that actually makes sense. There are systems in place. It's not perfect. It's honestly kind of terrible. That's the whole point. But you're going through it and you believe that it's a real place. There's nothing that makes you think, well, that would never happen. No, you can see exactly how this could be a real place with real history, real systems. So she did a wonderful job with that. All right, so I am rating in 5 categories. Each category is out of 20 points. So characters, plot, relationships, that sucked in factor, and then complex themes. So they're getting scored out of 20 in each of those categories to end up with a grand total of 100 points or somewhere in there. Now, I will say before I get into it, this book's rating did really surprise me. I was surprised at the rating for this book. I will go right out and say it was not my favorite fantasy that I've ever read. I felt like, and this is through no fault of the authors, but I do feel like a lot of people described it as an enemies to lovers, and I wasn't getting a lot of the enemies. It was pretty clear to me that they were attracted to each other right away, and so I didn't really get that pining, that like we hate each other and then turning into something different. So I didn't love the book. That being said, I am very surprised at the rating for it. It actually kind of shocked me. All right, so category number 1 that we're going to talk about is characters. So again, this is out of 20 points. I gave them a 10. I think that a lot of the characters fell a little bit flat for me, that their growth or change that they were going through was kind of forced. It felt like anytime the character needed to make a huge shift in their mentality and in their personality, they didn't really work that hard for it. It was like one thing happened and all of a sudden it's like, snap, I'm a new person with new goals and I now have the exact right mindset to get done what I need to get done. You did want to root for them. The characters, not everything was easy for them. They definitely struggled. They definitely faced obstacles. They definitely were knocked back by a lot of these challenges. And so you do want to root for them, right? And you do want them to succeed. They are likable characters. I felt like a lot of their growth was just very quick and happened very fast. And I blinked and all of a sudden they've like aged 20 years. Not literally, but like mentally. It's kind of what it felt like for me, personally. All right, for the second category we're going to get into, that's going to be relationships. I am not talking love life relationships. I do mean genuinely any relationship. The relations of the characters with the other characters, main characters supporting, whatever. Like just genuine relationships. So out of 20, I gave this a 12. I promise I didn't go into this with the mindset, I try to be very, very, very fair. I don't want to, especially because I love hard, and so I know when I really, really love a book, I'm going to want to be like 20, 20, 20, and I need to not. I need to be realistic. So I am. I just feel bad. So I give it a 12 on relationships. I felt like, again, rushed, forced, very quickly. A lot of these relationships kind of developed, and you kind of start to understand at a point that that's just the main character. She does feel very deeply, and so, you know, they'll meet people and all of a sudden they're bonded and they feel like family. But it does get a little like, okay, calm down. Not every single person you can meet you need to die for. Let's relax. And even the relationships between the main characters, I just felt like a lot of it was very rushed. It was like things were kind of being softly hinted at, and then all of a sudden it was like the snowball came down the hill, and it was like I thought it was just like a light flurry situation going on here, and then you're right in the middle of it. So again, rushed. I do think that they were very lively, like entertaining. You were pulled into it, and it was very descriptive. The way the characters felt about each other, how they viewed each other, how they viewed how everyone fits into their life. It very descriptive, and I do love that, because I think that's something that gets lost in a lot of books is the relationships, and a lot of authors don't spend as much time really showing you how these relationships not only exist but evolve. And I think she did a wonderful job of that. I think it is very descriptive. You know exactly what's happening along the way. I just think it was a little too fast for me. And then we already know my whole enemies to lovers plight here, where I was like, this is just too quick. They need to hate each other a little bit longer for me. And they need to like actually hate each other, not just like, I hate you, but I do want you. No. It needs to be like hate, hate, hate. Then I hate you and I kind of want you. Then hate, hate, hate. Then maybe after that they can get together. Like you gotta fight for it. I digress. All right, so for the third category, it is going to be plot. Now, I do feel like the plot was very well paced throughout the book. I will admit, again, this is a pretty big book. This isn't a short little book. I will admit that in the beginning, like probably towards the middle, I was thinking it was way too fast. I was like, I just don't understand how we're at this point in the journey already. I felt like it was moving way too quick for a little bit there, and I just was not enjoying a lot of it. Then right around like the 3/4 mark, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. And then by the end, I was like, no, this was perfectly paced, because once you kind of hit that ending, that fast pacing in the beginning makes a lot more sense. It kind of clicks into place. That part needs to be a little bit faster so that they can get you where you need to be at the end of the book. So once we got to the end of the book, it was like, okay, no, this all makes sense now. I completely understand why those parts were moving so fast, because it felt like the book was like, hey, we're going to go from point A to point B, and it felt like we were rapidly approaching point B by like the middle of the book, and I was like, I do not understand. But secretly you're not going for B, you're going for like C, D, and then E. So it all kind of made sense in the end. It just was a little fast for me. I realized I forgot to say what I gave out of it. I gave it a 15 out of 20, so it's the highest so far in the third category. 15 out of 20, because I do think it was really well paced. I was intrigued by it. I understood the plight. I enjoyed it. All right, so for the fourth category, that is the sucked in factor, which to me, that means how absorbed am I in this book? Can I just not put it down, or am I getting bored while reading it and needing to take some steps back? I gave it a 13 out of 20. Now, that to me was a little generous, because this book took me almost like 2 months to finish. Mostly because I'm a teacher and I hadn't really worked out a rhythm yet with incorporating reading back into my schedule, because there was just so much else going on. Now it's summer and I have a little bit more time. But even when I was given more time, I really didn't want to go back to it. I was kind of over it. I was at about that halfway point where I felt like it was going too fast and I was just kind of over it. So it took me a little bit in summer to even pick up the book. The only reason I did was because I was going to the airport and I wanted to have a different book to read, because I didn't want to be carrying this around the airport, and I didn't want to pack it either. So that was my motivation to finish the book. Now, like I said, it got the 13 out of 20 because towards the end, everything kind of clicked in for me. And I did get way more absorbed in like this last quarter of the book than I did at the beginning. So I didn't want to drop it super low because of how not absorbed I was in the beginning. But I did want it to be a factor as well. It did take me a while to get absorbed in the book. Once I was absorbed, I was in it. I didn't want to put it down. It just took a really long time to get to that point. So 13 out of 20. My roommate and her grandpa and her brother and his brother's partner just finished their puzzle, I think. I heard cheering in the kitchen. They've been working on that puzzle for quite a few hours now. Happy for them. All right, so our final category, complex themes. So our fifth and final, complex themes. The highest score I gave this book, a 17 out of 20. I absolutely adored what she was doing with this book because it's multiple perspectives. This book is between the perspectives of 3 people. 2 of them are kind of on the same side. Let's call it like their sides A and B in a war. We've got a perspective from someone on A, a perspective from someone on B, and a perspective from this like third person who's fighting on A's side but understands B's side. And I think the author does an amazing job highlighting how both sides in a war, in a fight, in a battle, believe that they're right. We grow up with so many books where the bad guy is inherently a bad guy. He's trying to like wipe out civilization or something, like very cut and dry, you're not a good person. But real world conflict is not the same. When you think about what's going on in the world with politics and just in general, the actual vibes of the world, everyone does think they're right. Both sides, every side thinks that they are the right one, that thinks that they are correct. When you think about religions, they all believe that they are correct. And it's really hard being an outsider, and I think that's what's perfect about this, is that it is another universe. It's mirroring our problems, but it's a completely separate universe. So you're able to kind of look at it and sit in the discomfort of watching both sides fully believe they're doing the right thing and watching them just hurt each other. And so I think it does a really good job highlighting the difficult positions that people are in on every side, while still maintaining, you know, morally there is still a more correct side. Power, that's a big theme in here, is just the lengths that people will go to get power and to keep it. It also can kind of go to your head, especially you believing that you're doing the right thing, but noticing that everyone around you is doing the right thing, but for the wrong reasons. So I think this book does a great job of exploring right and wrong, and just in general, the dual sides of a conflict, and showing you what that can be like and what that can feel like when you are put in the middle, because that's what the author's doing here. By having you read perspectives from both sides of this and grow attached to the characters like that, you are genuinely being put in the middle. Now, whether you agree with one side or not, it's really hard to quell the fact that there are points you do agree with the other side, and there are points where you're rooting for everyone to succeed, and you know you can't because they're opposing sides in this conflict. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, but you can't help but just want them all to win because you have a foot in, what is it? You have a dog in both races. You have a horse in both races. I don't know what it is. Dog in this fight. You got a dog in both. I don't know. I'm losing it, but you know what I mean. This is going to sound really sad, but something that I do spend quite a lot of time thinking about ever since I was younger is that utopia can never exist. Because in order to have this utopia, everybody has to agree, and that's just not plausible. And there are certain things where it's like, yes, it's right or wrong, but not everything is a right or wrong. There are just opinions. And I think this book does a good job of showing that no matter what side wins, it won't be perfect. No matter what side wins, somebody will be oppressed. it's just, it shows this lose-lose situation of people fighting to create a perfect world, is that it doesn't exist and it will never exist. So anytime a book has that going on in it, oh, right up my alley, right up my alley. All right, so overall, the book got a 67. I was genuinely surprised by how low that was. I really am. I thought it was going to be much higher. To me, I was reading it and I was like, yeah, it's not my favorite, but I don't hate it. I do like it. And I was really shocked when I saw it got a 67. So coming out the gate strong with my favorite genre too, and a 67. It's rough. It's rough. But you know what? It'll be fine. In every state but Texas, that's passing. Too bad we live in Texas. I'm so sorry. But overall, it was a good book. I think this one just was really hard to get into at first. It felt like there was simultaneously a lot of exposition, but that exposition was happening so fast and just getting like crammed down your throat. It was very overwhelming. This one wasn't a great book to be continuously picking up, putting down, picking up, putting it down. This is something that is better read more quickly, more quick succession, less time passing in between you reading, just because it was so overwhelming and everything was happening so fast that I felt like I forget everything because I hadn't read in like 2 days, and then I'd pick it up and I'm like, I don't even, like, I would have to go back and reread certain chapters because I was like, I completely forgot what's going on because it's going so fast in the beginning. So I think it earned a 67. My heart just hurt a little bit. I did want it to be higher, but I am very excited to see where else it goes. Like I said, I am going to continue to rate them as standalone books. I just think that makes the most sense. I will talk for a little bit in each of the videos for the other books, a little bit about how I do think it being a series plays in, but I won't consider that in the ratings. This one I don't have much to say at this point because this was the first book in the series. I do like how it ended. I am really excited to get into the second one. I'm honestly ready to hit the ground running in the second one because of how this one ended. I'm like, let's go. I'm ready. I need to know what's going on and what's happening. So I think this was a really good setup for the series. I just was not fully invested in it. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed my rating for Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I'm very excited to continue. So until then.